For years, I was thinking about getting into animation. Eventually, I took my dusty old iPad I had laying around in my drawer and downloaded the first free animation app that I saw. I opened up a project and started work on my first animation ever. I deleted the app and didn't try animating ever again. I mean, I guess it's just not for me. Now, animation is something I spend an embarrassing amount of time on every day. I've been practicing for the last 3 years. I recently finished my first short film, and of course, I'm not done. I still have a lot to learn and much bigger things to make. All because, 1 year after my first time trying, I decided to give it another go. This time, I approached it at a different angle. I waited too long to start because I was ashamed of the quality of my work. Every time I tried animating, I will compare myself to the animators I admire and completely lose all motivation. But one of those times, after finishing one animation, I decided to show it to some friends who were very excited, and the response was that they will be waiting for my next animation tomorrow. Tomorrow? I mean, I don't know if I can... Yeah, sure, I can try. That day, I searched for countless beginners tutorials and exercises, trying to perfectly optimize my work so I could learn the animation faster. At the end of the day, I was overwhelmed and didn't really know what to do. I would have called it a day, but I couldn't. I had to show something to my friends. So I decided to just animate the first thing that came to mind, which was really fun, way more fun than boring exercises. From that point on, I would animate whatever I wanted. I didn't search for any tutorials, but instead just experimented on my own, which was a lot more interesting. Then I will send my daily animation progress to our group chat. These things allowed me to be consistent and finally overcome the endless cycle of procrastination. Finally, after so many years of just thinking about it, I was able to get comfortable with the software I was using and understand the basics of animation. Now I had my foot through the door, but of course, this was not enough. In order to improve, I will need to set a plan and begin learning with intent, starting with the foundations. Turns out, everything you need to learn animation is sitting on YouTube for free. I saw countless videos on the topic and got a clear idea of the essentials I needed to learn. For the first time, this actually felt like the right path. I knew exactly what I needed to learn and in what order, so I followed it. I started with the 12 principles of animation, the basics worked out by Disney animators in the 1930s, which are still the foundation of every animated thing you have ever watched. After that, I started doing short exercises that use these principles in more complex ways. All the classic stuff like the bouncing ball, the swinging pendulum, the flower sack, the walk cycle, the run cycle, facial expressions, a short acting scene. What I never stopped doing though was making random stuff on the side, just for fun, like before. At the time, I thought of this as two completely separate things, the serious work and the fun side stuff. But actually, the principles I was studying in theory, I was actually learning them inside the random animations. And once I realized that, I started enjoying the process a lot more, again making me very consistent. Anyways, about a year passed where I was following this structure. A friend of mine knew I had been doing this animation thing, and one day he asked to see some of my work, so I went to show him. But as I was scrolling through my files, I started to feel uncomfortable. The exercises felt wrong to show. They were never meant to be seen by anyone, they were just practice. And the other stuff, the random fun animations, I was still kind of embarrassed by those too. They were messy and small and nowhere near what I actually wanted to make. After a year of working on this every single day, I technically knew a lot, but I had almost nothing I was actually proud of. No tutorial covered that gap, so I was lost for a long time. But after that interaction, I realized that something had to change. It was finally time to get over that hurdle and start moving forward. I started with committing to something more structured, with a beginning and end, and immediately hit problems I had never dealt with before. How do I keep the characters consistent across every shot? How does one moment lead into the next? These questions led me to making references and storyboards for the first time. Then I started another project which required unique designs, then another one which needed a simple story. Each project pulled me to something I hadn't done before without necessarily planning it that way. It just happens when you commit to finishing something real. The project asks more of you than you currently have, so you figure it out. Eventually, I even began work on my first animated short film, despite believing that I couldn't even finish it at the time. Wait, what is that? The plane flies above water making waves. What are you doing? What? You can't animate planes. How are you going to do that? I would animate it in 3D maybe. You have never touched 3D software in your life. I don't know. I will figure something out. This is how I began making real progress. Starting projects that required things I didn't know how to do yet. So by the time I actually needed those skills to finish something I had already put real work into, I couldn't just skip them. The project was already too far along to abandon, so I had to figure it out. I often think about how long I felt stuck for these past 3 years, not improving, because of dumb reasons. The fear of not being good, the trap of consuming rather than creating, and the hesitation to step out of my comfort zone. All of these things felt like the right answer while I was doing them, but what actually worked was embarrassingly simple. Just making something. I have now realized that I learn a lot faster from finished projects, rather than hours of practice in the abstract. I learn by doing. I complete projects, criticize them, ask for feedback, and learn from my mistakes. Then I make something better and the cycle repeats. I'm still figuring things out. Every project shows me how much I still can do, but that doesn't feel like a reason to stop anymore. Instead, it motivates me, knowing that my next project will be even better. If you are somewhere in the loop right now, watching tutorials, comparing yourself to people 10 years ahead of you, starting things and quickly abandoning them, you don't need to watch another video. I think you already know what you have to do. Go make something.